And you can turn off the video to start with, because you freeze sometimes.
Yes. What about now? I changed to my phone, so maybe it's better.
Yeah,
I think
it sounds
so.
better.
Sometimes it's better.
Is it the full moon or?
Yeah, the full moon. It's a full moon thing.
Yeah.
The full moon. Yeah.
And in Chile, the moon is probably even more full than in South Africa.
Oof, no idea about that.
No, I'm being naughty. It's
Oh,
the same, I think.
it was completely a joke, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tend to make jokes that no one understands.
Okay,
and family listening to me is probably laughing right now as well. So.
Right. Pas tout de suite. On avance, okay. Still have 3 minutes.
Ah, yes.
Okay. And I believe the Changemaker School program, is it still ongoing or?
In India, it is stopped.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
South America, nothing really happened. We were like the first or second ones to be elected, because I've been a Ashoka fellow like for I don't know, year. And so they said, oh, you know, now you're an Ashoka school, and I was like, oh, that's wonderful, but nothing happened.
Well,
Yeah.
we happened.
Similar here.
Yes, you guys happened.
I think it's a network. So it's a network that people discover each other. So
yeah,
Exactly. And I think that's what we're doing.
so that's important that came out of it. I'm guessing the schools in America still are well connected. I have a feeling there's a separate. The American Ashoka schools have their own Ashoka network, and then they made their international network a bit separate, I think.
In North America, you mean?
No, in United States.
Okay.
Yes. In South America, we don't like people saying America. America.
Yeah, it's like calling Ireland part of Britain. I'm sorry, Marianne. Yeah, it's
okay. We'll forgive you for now.
I've almost got into trouble in Ireland, so now I've already been. I have that memory now for South America.
Yeah, that's kind of dangerous, I think.
Yeah.
And we still have.
I've got 6 slides. Can I restrict myself to 6 slides? I don't know how to cut out my presentation shorter.
If you manage to make it 5 minutes,
yeah,
then
I'm gonna
fine.
keep it for 5 minutes. I had a few more, but I'm
perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
I have 1 and like 3 minutes, so take my time.
Yeah, I've got different styles. I've got a busy mind, so I need to keep my mind. I need to keep my mind occupied.
So are we good? I think so. We have 35 people.
No, we have 58.
58 people. Okay.
And maybe I cannot say an imago, but
maybe 30 people.
Yeah.
So maybe we're about 80 people right now. So I think since it's time, let's begin. And I want to say welcome to this first international debates. So I believe we have people from India, from Chile, from South Africa, and from France. And we're together for 1 hour till 5 p.m. in France. I wouldn't be able to say what time in the other countries. And we're recording the debate so that everybody can watch it online afterwards. And he's Adrien, I'm Bérénice, and together we founded the organization School Trotters, aiming at identifying and valuing different ways of teaching around the world. And to do so, we took a journey in 2018 and we explored about 20 schools from primary to high school. And we made a movie out of it, which is called FUTUR SIMPLE, and which is now online. And that's why we're organizing this debate to celebrate its launching online. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm super happy to introduce you our three guests today. So we have SRIVIDYA Mouli, who is the head of the TVS Academy in India. Marianne Müller, who is the head of the Pirque Agroecological School, and Marc, who is like the head of the Kairos School of Inquiry. And I think to start, Marc will introduce himself. So you can go right now, Marc.
Great, thank you. Adrien, do you want me to go ahead and introduce myself with a presentation?
Just technical information, so everyone can participate in the chat, either the Imago chat or the Twitch chat, and we'll take the questions afterwards of the audience. And yes, please, Marc, introduce yourself with the Kairos.
Okay, let me see if I can share screen. Key point, keynote. I shouldn't have gone first. I caught me unawares. There we are. There.
But you're Zoom's headmaster, I believe.
Yeah, I'm known as the head monster of Kairos. Can you all see the screen?
Perfect.
Okay, good. So just we've started a school. We had a dream of starting a school. I had a dream in around 2009, but we actually only started with 3 children in 2011. And this child here on the top left is one of our children. And I have a feeling he might in fact be attending on Twitch at the moment. I'm not sure. He's now an adult, young adult, and doing exciting things. And there's a sense that we've got a name of being an alternative school in Joburg, and yet we don't want to be this radical fringe alternative school. We want to be a common sense school that's integration of good common sense thinking about what education ideally should be in the world today, in the 21st century, for children of today. And we are this integration of what schools are as well as what they ideally should be. We don't want to be a fringe over idealistic school which would then isolate and alienate ourselves from the community of parents, of some parents, and also the community of schools. We want to play just enough of the game that we are still what schools do and what schools are, while we are idealistic in how we actualize the mainstream conventional curriculum. So our children still go on to mainstream conventional high schools. We are primary school only, and we are a school that applies the curriculum, achieves the outcomes of the conventional curriculum in innovative ways. Now I've got Zoom and PowerPoint at the same time. There's the sense of our framework. There is a journey of, I think it's helpful to start at the top with our logo, of a sense of being in the moment and always in the moment from moment to moment. And therefore, Kairos, our name, is an ancient word that has a meaning of time. But it's not time of the chronos, time of the clock. It's time of what is right for that moment. What is the right thing to do for the moment of what the child is bringing us and what the teacher is seeing or feeling in the moment, while being aware that there's a curriculum to achieve. And the way we achieve being alive at the moment has a method. And we need to deeply see the child in the child's fullness and the child's moment-to-moment dynamics of what the child expresses. And from the seeing the child in a deep way, which is an enormous challenge for a teacher, because the teacher is conditioned by their own upbringing, their own schooling, and their own life, and therefore they've got a lens that's influenced by their life. We aspire to empower our teachers to really deeply see the child, and therefore by seeing the child, they would help and mentor the child to see his or her purpose, at the same time as challenging the child in both strengths and weaknesses and their fullness in all the different ways of being intelligent and literate. And as everyone often says, it takes a whole village, it takes a system. So we aspire to demonstrate the reality that if school can be a happy place and a meaningful journey, then the children will go out and feel empowered to make a difference, and make a difference in a healthy, constructive, socially responsible way. And the means of achieving that is this holistic view of the child that we aspire, and I challenge ourselves to see each child and hear not merely their words and not merely see their behavior, but what is within their behavior and hiding below the lines, below the surface. Just a few more summary of a sense of what we are, just to give you a feeling of the school. We've got weird and unconventional innovations. For instance, the school currency, and here there's a photo of the children trading their goods and services, which is spontaneous and uncontrolled, and there's a real function economy in the school. There's no rules and no punishments in the school. There's agreements, and these are carefully designed agreements around 3 categories: integrity, mastery, harmony, and each category has 7 agreements with deep theory, with nonviolent communication and trauma-sensitive schooling, and various aspects of helping the children learn a social emotional curriculum. And we do that through various ways of, there's social experiments that we do with deeply respectful innovations, where there's a human, deeply genuine, authentic sense of how we engage the children in their learning experience. I think I'm going to end there, and I hope that summarizes the school well enough.
Thank you very much, Marc. And it made me smile because I recognized the Kairos currency, because I don't know if you remember, but we attended the Friday market,
Yes.
Friday? And we can see it in the movie, actually. So
wonderful. That's good to know that our market day is in the movie.
I think I also recognized one of the students on the picture you share.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you, Marc. I think SRIVIDYA is next one. SRIVIDYA,
yes.
Are you ready?
And my presentation is going to be very different from Marc's. I've made it very, very structured. This is to give you an overview of where we are located. We started our journey about 30 years ago, and we called ourselves an academy and not a school, because we envisioned that we would interact with the young people in a journey of exploration, having conversations and dialogue like Plato and Socrates did in the Greek academies. That's the reason why we are called TVS Academy. When we started in 1990, we had till grade 9, and now we have from Montessori till grade 12, after which they join a university. So you find that we are on the outskirts of a very famous city called Bangalore in South India. And we are a private school. And when we started our school, we had 3 schools, one at Tumkur, another small town, which is about 75 kilometers from Bangalore. And we have another school in Tiruvannamalai. All 3 schools are located in small towns, purely with the intent that we want to provide quality education in these small towns to communities which want a better schooling than what our government schooling setup provides children. Today, we have roughly around 600 children from our kindergarten till 12, and we have about 58 teachers. And the school is run by a not-for-profit. In fact, because we are funded by an industrial house, people ask me, is it because they have to give back to society, which is called as corporate social responsibility? I tell people it's a conscious social responsibility. My director envisaged that these schools would be places which would bring in people, like-minded people from the community, and would use indigenous learning systems and ideas in the curriculum. So our early grades, the way we are very different is Indian schools stress on competitions and what you score in an exam. For us, exams are something that we do maybe after the child has spent about 8 years in our school. Till then, we have informal observations that we record. And, the school consciously caters to a cross section because we are located in a village that's primarily agrarian. So we wanted to create that space for people in the community to come and be a part of this venture. And do I speak about the alumni? You had asked me what our students do. Do I speak about it now or later?
Maybe later.
Okay. The vision. We have a vision which says, there's no mention of an exam in it. We are focused more on making learning the central focus in our schools. There's a lot of engagement and exploration. Children learn by doing. In fact, I say we have a 10-acre biological lab because children learn things from the campus, from the nature that is there around us. And we look at teachers being just facilitators who help children, who give them that little nudge to move forward. So for us, the supportive learning environment becomes very, very essential. And we feel the teacher has to be as much a learner as the child. Only then, this engagement can be something that is meaningful and relevant to both the children and the teacher. And we've kind of hoped, like this is a vision that a team of teachers from both Hosur and Tumkur sat together and deliberated, and we revisit our vision every year, several times, to assess where are we in this journey. Are we really making the difference that we wanted to? And are we really empowering our children to create a better world, a compassionate world, a world that takes into account the voices of people who are, on the fringe, who hardly get a space to express themselves? We, like a well-run corporate, we also have a mission, but we are so different from the business model of a school in India. We are, run primarily on the belief system of Jiddu Krishnamurti, who says the purpose of schooling should be to enable goodness to flower. The flowering of goodness is what, we should work towards as facilitators. So there is a lot of excitement, there is a lot of engagement, discovery that happens. There is music, there is theater, there is dance, there is weaving, there is embroidery, there's carpentry, there's plumbing, gardening. Everything gets, an equal importance in our school. So in that way, we are very different. We are not driven by, quote, exams. That's how a typical good school in India would function. Speak about the marks that they would enable children. But here, for us, what is very important is the learning and the engagement between the learner and the environment, the learner and other learners, the learner and the facilitator, the learner and the world. So that's how, we operate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, SRIVIDYA. And you forgot to mention that you create your own paper as well. I mean, that's one of
we are a zero waste campus. We recycle the garden waste, make our own compost. The water, the gray water, we've kind of tried to see how we can reuse and minimize. The rainwater is harvested, and the paper we recycle and make our own files and folders for children to use. So in that sense, we feel that that is our way of preserving the ecology. One way by which we sensitize children to the ecology.
Thank you so much, SRIVIDYA. Do you think you can unshare your screen?
Sorry, I'll stop share. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Marianne, do you want to close this presentation round before we actually start the debate?
I'll try to share. I cannot find, oh wow, the picture I wanted to share. But
you don't have to share anything.
Okay, I won't share. I'm sorry. I would have loved to share this picture of the children, but I had some technical problems. So we'll just do speaking. I'm so sorry because it was a much nicer faces of the children than to see my face, but we'll try to imagine beautiful South American smiling sunny children. I agree so much with what Marc and SRIVIDYA shared. There's a lot in common with our schools, and so I'll try to be short so we can have a discussion after. We started our school agroecológica 30 years ago, and as an alternative to the school system that excluded children who didn't fit in for many reasons. We realized society was losing an opportunity to include extraordinary kids with tremendous potential, artists, rebels, students with learning disabilities, kids who had been bullied and had, very low self-esteem, kids who were attracted by, the nature and who lived in the cities, because we have city children and rural children. And so kids who longed for the contact with nature. And we, many kids with very difficult and challenging situations in their families or in their lives. And so there was no school for them when we started. It was like a lot of dropout and exclusion. So we created this school where everyone is welcome. And because we believe that diversity makes the world so rich and creative. And so we have, in this school, we have 400 regular teenage students. And everybody who knows teenage, 400 is a lot to deal with, with their stories and their lives. And because we take the kids, all dimensions of the child, we take the child with their stories. So we have to, if we take them with a story, we have to generate the answers for their needs. So there is a lot of artistic activities, also therapy. We have very many different alternative or more complementary activities of healing, so the children can, you know, go through their story, their life story, and heal. We feel school is a healing. Our school is a healing space and a creative space to start life from there. You know, and independent from your story, life story, you can always start in a different from the present. So our education is free of charge. We're a private school, but subsidized partly by the state, partly by our sustainable ventures. Yes, and as we're subsidized, we respond to the Ministry of Education. We always wanted to be a very replicable, as replicable as possible. This is why we always try to impact mainstream instead of being an alternative school. And that's, you know, sometimes very difficult to do with very rigid systems of education, but we've managed to always fit in, you know, all the blank spaces the government gives us to just integrate all the things that shouldn't be there, but they, you know, we have great results. So the ministry doesn't, you know, scold us too much for all the different things we do, but because this is a situation everywhere, no? So we have chosen agriculture as a means to connect our students with nature and understand the world through, you know, interdependence. Agriculture is an incredible, everybody who's farmed, who's had a vegetable garden, who's been in a forest, knows how we understand the world. You know, it opens a whole world of seeing interdependence and interconnection, and so that generates a mindset for learning that is very rich. No, we have in fact two schools, but the film features the agricultural one. So the second school has 250 students and starts at preschool until 12th grade, and both share the same model and the same space, the same place. We talk about, if you see the school, we talk about the mundo origen. We say it's like the world, a little world in our foundation, Fundación Origen, because, you know, we have the schools, we have a training center, we have a farmer's market where we sell what we produce, and the kids go through all the training of, you know, a bright livelihood through going through producing cheese, vegetables, eggs, honey. We produce the wheat, we make the bread. We have all these sustainability projects until the kids know the whole circle of coming out of poverty. And we believe, as both of you, as all of us, I think, we believe happy children learn. So we dedicate our time to create the environment, the holistic practices, and the activities to generate this well-being that generates deep learning in this interdisciplinary way. We also, as all of us, you know, believe in the power of nonviolence, and that a sustainable world we all dream of is only possible if we educate for the common good. As you were saying, you know, this beautiful phrase, enable goodness to flower, and goodness only flowers in a place where you can connect yourself to goodness and where you experience goodness, no? So nature, and we dream, you know, we work and dream for nature and all living beings having the possibility of existing in balance and harmony and kindness and compassion and all those good emotions that arise from when you have a space to let them grow. That's all.
Thank you.
Sorry for the picture, but
don't worry, we don't mind about the picture. What
yeah, and for those who want the picture, you can see them in the movie.
Yes, exactly.
It's a little bit advertising, but
exactly. And about the movie, I didn't take the time to introduce a little bit more, but so as you can imagine, we can see the TVS Academy, the Pirque agroecological Spanish, English, and French are just blended in my head. Sorry about that. in the Kairos School of Inquiry, and we can also see other schools from 8 different countries. And we chose to make 4 chapters in the movie. The first one is about dialogue. Second one is about empathy. Third one is about the body, and fifth is about exploring nature. And to us, during this journey, there were these 4 essential elements to change the way we teach, or at least that's what we observed in these schools. And what we can do now, we have a few questions for the 3 of you before starting a Q&A session with the audience. So audience, please ask some questions in the chat, in the Twitch chat or in the Imago chat. Yeah. And our first question goes to SRIVIDYA. You want to ask it?
Yeah.
About the professional.
Yeah. It's a question that we had a lot, that people asked a lot during our screenings in France. People were seeing our movie and they were like, "Oh, these schools are awesome," but they were a little bit afraid of what the pupils, what the students would become after the school. Because in France, we have, we are a little bit afraid of what is really alternative or what is different in schools. So our first question is for SRIVIDYA, is what your students become after their school, after the TVS Academy. And yeah, because, there are these people who are critical thinking and who have empathy, maybe more than others. So how do they go into society after this?
Adrien, thank you for the question. We were asked the same question in the initial years. Okay, you're doing a lot of good things, but what about how would children face life? How would they make a living? How would they, be successful? Because in India, and again, we are located in a very small town where people aspire to move up in life. And we've had about 750 students from 1992 till 2020 who have graduated from the school, and we track almost all of them. I'm connected with them. I have a record of what they do, where they are, and in fact, some of them are logged in for this session as well. And I can tell you, initial years in India, everybody wants either an engineer or a doctor. Now they have broken these stereotypes. We have designers, we have architects, we have people in agriculture, people who want to change policy, people who have decided that they want to change the education system the way, they've gone through a different kind of schooling. We have financial experts, we have lawyers, almost, dancers, musicians, artists. So you find that what schooling seems to have given them is the courage to be different, the courage to say, this is what defines my happiness. Because ultimately, we want children to be happy in whatever they do. Money is not the only measure of somebody's success. And the willingness to give back, this is something that I find incredible. It deeply moves me because my children give back to the school a minimum of 100 hours every year. And in the last 2 years, I have had just one student contributing 100 hours to the school, mentoring his juniors. So, we've had a whole range of careers that children have chosen, and they come back to speak to their, juniors, and some of them are defense professionals as well. And at any given point of time, I have at least 3 or 4 of my former students who've come back to teach, who spend time in school and, who work with us. There are a small group of students who, after their education, have decided to be good moms, raising their children, giving them the kind of time, space, affection, and care that they deserve. So, whatever the choice they make, ultimately we want them to be happy, and that's what we find that our students send back as, the message of what they are doing.
Thank you, SRIVIDYA.
I wonder if maybe Marianne or Marc want to add something about the grades, because if I remember correctly, in your schools, you have a different approach to grades and exams, just as you said, SRIVIDYA. And another question that, I'm sorry, it wasn't a plan, but it pops out like that. A lot of people who ask us the question about professional orientation also ask us, okay, are your students or alumni able to enter another more conventional school or not? I don't know if you can raise your hand maybe.
Okay. If they move out in the initial years, our students find it difficult because, the approach to learning is very different, hands-on, experiential. But in India, most of the good schools go into rote learning. So there they would have difficulty, but the older children are able to adapt beautifully. You can see that seamlessly they are able to adapt to whatever system they go into.
Thank you. Marc, I think you have your mic is off.
Sorry, Marianne's got something. I'll come after Marianne.
Okay.
It's fine. You could start. No, very simple. We have same experience as India in the sense that as SRIVIDYA, because we have kids going to every kind of profession you can imagine, and they have no trouble inserting in other schools and going to university and regular college, and they have a pretty, the mindset, their confidence in themselves that they gain in this type of education makes them believe in themselves. And even if there's like problems or obstacles because they have, I don't know, financial issues, they have the main thing is give them a very high self-esteem and a very high sense of what you want to achieve. You can do it with effort and diligence and find the right support. So that I think is the main thing in the kind of school we have. Like a little example, we have, as I was saying, many kids with learning disabilities that were, thrown out of other schools because for teachers it's a problem. We created a different way of, giving them other opportunities of grades. As we depend on the Ministry of Education, we have to have grades, but we can do what we want to give the grades. So, if you're flexible and you're open-minded and you have creative teachers, you can find a way. And so, for instance, we realized that kids who had disabilities were always there every day. They were so diligent. They came on time. They never, because we see their charts and they really participate, even when there's like really bad weather. So we created a grade for assistance, for assisting class. Like if you have 100% assistant, the headmaster gives you a check, like a bank check that lasts for 2 months, and you can put it into a grade that was really bad. So they have possibilities of raising their grades. And so as the same thing with kind heart, good practices, helping others, you can get grades, you can get checks by being, like very helpful in the farm and other abilities than the cognitive ones. And that's been really wonderful for the kids because they see every ability is graded, not only the cognitive ones.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, on our side in Kairos school, there's, I think similar to TVS Academy and Marianne School, we've got a sense that textbooks create enormous problems. and tests create enormous problems. The textbook restricts the teacher from their own initiative and their own sense of autonomy and creativity. We do have textbooks for the teachers to look at to see what the conventional schools are doing, and the teacher is required to create learning experiences in an integrated way that take the children on a journey, approximately about 1 month. Similarly, there's no tests in the very rigid sense. We still give tests, and we introduce tests gradually from about 10 years old, more or less slowly, from maybe spelling tests and then real conventional tests in 10 years old, moving through to 13, but only so that they learn how to run a test, because it's a life skill to be able to work in a test, because they're going into a conventional high school. But the idea that the test is going to measure their knowledge is an extremely problematic principle in education. The idea that you need to that you get 80% for a test and you're judged to have excelled is a deeply problematic idea, that you only have to do 80% of any task ever, and that's an excellent result. We want the children to do their absolute best and put their whole heart and mind and feeling and soul into a task, and with creating beauty as well as excellence and as well as accuracy. The idea that they need to get the exact right answer that's in the teacher's head, and the teacher judges the child according to their preconceptions of what is correct, is kind of built into a test system. So instead of that, we've got continuous assessments where the children are viewed formatively, so the teacher sees their journey instead of in a artificial test environment. I'm not answering comprehensively, but I think that gives you a feeling.
No, you are.
Yeah, that's very good.
It's really interesting, and I think we could go on for the hour about the grades, but maybe we should go on to the other question I wanted to ask you, actually, Marc, is about, it's kind of related, but it's to what extent are the methods you develop in your school replicable in other public schools?
Right. So thank you. I love the question because I think it really speaks to our school. I hope it's okay just to show this screen. I think will help me answer the question. I've got a list of things that we do that is unusual and different to the conventional school. And the list on the left is a list of philosophical frameworks that speak to a theoretical grounding for the teacher to be working out of. So that's a more broad perspective of approaching a classroom or a child or a group of children. And on the right, there's specific things that we do. Sometimes we discover ideas coming from schools around the world, and TVS Academy and Escuela Agricola. I can't say your school's name very nicely, Marianne, but these are new schools on our map now. So there's the specific things that we do can all be applied in the public system. The idea that teachers could be telling a story orally to their children instead of reading out of a book is a very particular principle coming out of a Steiner-based school. For instance, whole brain child, and that's Dan Siegel's work, and trauma-sensitive schooling is very connected. And also connected to that is Marshall Rosenberg's work of nonviolent communication. These are ways of understanding the role of a teacher in a school you can apply that in any school around the world, regardless of the rigidity of the system. And then for schools who are open to more flexibility, there's certain things like a school currency has been wonderfully successful, and an example of integrated studies where you've got a broad space, a longer period of time, and maths and arts and social and emotional skills, as well as science, can all be integrated into one period and one learning journey. Similar to coming out of Marshall Rosenberg's work is the daily check-in, for instance. Every child and every teacher checks in with their feelings of what they are experiencing emotionally in the moment every day, and every week in our teachers meeting we do the same. And it's relevant to say that all these modalities we teach to the children, we also, it's modalities relevant to adults education as well. So it's relevant to adults learning journey. And I love the idea that in South Africa, we've got children are often referred to as learners, which we dislike because that implies that the adults are not learners. Everyone's learning, and we are a learning school. The system is learning as well as the individuals are learning. So all of these items that are listed here are all applicable and possible in a public school system, and we hope to inspire that to happen over time. Does that answer?
Yeah, that answer. Thank you. And
yes.
Yes, because in France, a lot of people were saying to us when they watch the movie, well, this is cool, but it will be expensive to implement it in public school. So that's why I wanted to ask you this question.
Great.
And maybe, I don't know if Marianne or Srividya wants to add something, or should I continue? Yeah, I continue. All right. Yeah, because I had a question which is a bit related to Marianne. It's about maybe the business model of the school, because you're one of the rare no-fee schools that we visited. And I wanted to know more about your cooperation with the government and how you deal, how are you financed? So because this is an important question, I guess, for headmasters.
Yeah, I love that question, because it's been, for us, was how, many of the good things in the world are for people who can afford them. So of course the breach, the social distance between people who have means and the poor grows and grows, because so for me the first thing was how not to exclude children. That means Chile, compared to the rest of South America, in a sense, has a subsidy for private schools who do the work of the state. We take free when it's for free. We get a subsidy. Of course, the subsidy doesn't cover high quality education. So we had to be super creative from the start to say, okay, what else can we do? Because we cannot live only on donations and expecting people to fund us. We are a foundation. We have wonderful friends who have been supporting the school for 30 years, but that's never enough. So we said, what can we do? What do we know? We can cook, we can bake bread, we can make cheese. In fact, we had a French guy who came in his retirement, a wonderful Frenchman who taught us how to make really good French bread. And then we had a French cheesemaker who was also incredible. And so we created these small businesses on our farm, and 100% of everything we make goes into the education, the free education of the children. But also it teaches the children that, by working, you make your living, not only by waiting for others to pay for you. Something that's been a big change, because it raised all the entrepreneurial skills of the kids to participate in the development of little businesses, farming businesses. And one of our main concerns is that kids stay in the country, because like in Chile, the country people are 60 years old, and who is going to eat what if we don't have farmers. So I think for us, one very important thing is to create, that farming becomes extremely attractive, and we get good prices. This is a farmers market with very good, work with small farmers. So this is also like part of the education, to be able to dream of going and becoming a successful farmer or a successful entrepreneur in a small business that you can generate not only. So this is the way it's pretty miraculous, I have to say, because we never, sometimes it's like we don't have anything and always something comes, an opportunity of. So our basic financial model is trust and work, and things seem to work when you do things well. Not easy, but it works. So we've had thousands of kids for free, and I feel very happy that we can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Marianne. I think it's very important because even for us, the elitism issue is quite big. And I remember, Marc, your answer about that, which was really, really interesting for us. I don't know if you remember or if you want to share something about it, or
remind me what I was saying. I could probably.
You were speaking about school is dead, I believe, and the fact that school is itself an elitist idea because you can't accept everybody. So
yeah, I think it comes out of the book by Everett Reimer, School is Dead, where the institution itself is built to be elitist and exclusive. And the more, once you get into the system, so certain children in the world are not even able to access the institution. And in South Africa, it's very relevant because many children entering grade 1 don't finish the matric 12 years later. In South Africa, we've had an enormous progress in getting the children into school, and sometimes that's not always a good thing because those schools are often really problematic. But still, there's many children who don't complete the journey of 12 years, and therefore their futures are at risk. And so once we compare schools within the system, the more well-resourced schools tend to be more elitist, and the structure is built in terms of availability of teachers and resources and grounds and premises and access to even funding from social networks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that
still haven't read the book.
Oh, you must. It's wonderful. It's one of the books that inspired me to build Kairos.
Yeah, I know you read it in India, right?
Yeah, I read it in a school whose principal was schooled in a Krishnamurti school, SRIVIDYA.
Connections.
In the SRIVIDYA, we have a question for you. Maybe you want me to ask it? Or...
About spirituality?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough question. I don't know. Like in SRIVIDYA and Marc, I think it concerns all of you, but maybe more SRIVIDYA. I don't know. You talk about involving the body and creating dialogue around spirituality and non-violence. But in France, a lot of people see mysticism and religion as something dangerous, like they're not very at ease with it. And school is seen as a place where everybody can grow its mind in a very rational way. So how do you react to these sayings? What do you think about the place of spirituality in educating children?
I think by nature are very spiritual beings. They are able to reflect quite easily, provided you create that space. So what we have tried to do is to give them that space to reflect. There is, like the other schools, there is no rule and rule breaker. They create their norms. What will be the classroom norm we follow? And what would be the consequence? So we never tell them what you did is right or what you did is wrong, because everything is relative. So we ask them to go to the root of, the matter. So it takes a lot of time, because it's easy to tell the child what you did is wrong. But, for us, we spend a lot of time. I think that is the investment that we as teachers should be willing to make in the next generation. There's so much joy in talking to the child, helping the child unravel for himself or herself what is right, what is wrong, what is it I want to do, what is it I don't want to do, what is it that hurts others if I do. So, how do I put across what I want to say without hurting others? Because we are taught you can't say this. There are extremes. That's what, our homes tell us. So, in the school, we try to tell them, please speak. You have every right to ask us questions. So, this kind of dialogue, we call it as our children's philosophy. We started it as a culture class where we would have a dialogue. We watch a lot of, in fact, we discuss things like freedom and discipline. Should we have discipline? Should people tell us what we have to do? Or do we have the capacity to define for us, for ourselves, what we would do? So you find that the teacher has to be willing to let go, because it's very easy for teachers to hold on to the power and say, come on, listen to me. So, a child who wants to explore will explore, but we have to be there to create that space, and that understanding oneself and being able to relate to others, that is what we look at as our spirituality. That's why, when you asked me, I said, no, we don't teach religion, but spirituality, anybody can teach us what is their reason for doing something. So we spend almost an hour every day. The morning we start with 20 minutes of meditation, so that we calm ourselves with breathing, and then we get into our class. At the end of the day, we spend again another 40 minutes reflecting. How was my day? How did I act? What did I do? Did I hurt someone in the process? Do I want to say sorry to that person? Do I want to have a conversation around why did I do what I did? So these kind of things, I think, are what helps children to become very confident, responsible, and compassionate humans. So for that, you need to create, you can't teach it from a textbook. We are speaking about, building the value system on which the next generation can build on, and move into beautiful human beings. It's because, we took that power away from children. That is why I think a lot of confusion, violence, and aggression we see around us. So if we want a much more caring society, a society that is compassionate, a society that is confident and happy with every child has to be happy with himself or herself. Once you are happy, you become, you cause that ripple effect. And this year, our theme has been happy teachers change the world. That's what, we've started kind of reflecting together as teachers.
Actually, Srividya, I was about to ask you or anyone else about the question of Rose, because she says that she asks if your schools make happy teachers, and she's explaining that in private schools, for example, in South Africa, it's run like a business, and it's hard. It's pretty intense for a teacher teach. And so what do you guys do for your teachers to be happy?
We spend a lot of time as teachers looking at things together. We spend almost, if you look at our entire workday through the year, we would be spending something like about 30 to 40 days, that much time, on looking at our professional development. And it's not merely fine-tuning your skills as a subject teacher, but more as a human being, because we read not merely Krishnamurti and Thich Nhat Hanh, we look at Palmer, who says, you teach who you are. So unless you are in control of your emotions, your own values, how will you be able to nurture that in another person? Or how will you be able to engage on an equal, kind of level playing field with another? So there's a lot of informal interaction. And we are never called a teacher in our school. We are addressed as a sister, Akka. Akka is an older sister. So whatever be the age, I keep saying, somewhere I have two generations. I've taught the parents who call me Akka. Now the children call me Akka. So there is this kind of conversation all the time inside the classroom and outside. So that's how we've been able to keep it going as teachers, both as professionals and as, facilitators in the school.
Thank you, Srividya. I don't know if we have time for last question, do you think? Or...
Oh, yeah, I think we have time, but...
So maybe I'll ask one more question to Marianne, and then we can leave or say goodbye. Because in this pandemic climate, I wondered what role or mission does your school play? And what does it change, and what does it reveal of your mission in your community?
Well, yes, that's a very good question, because the pandemic's been very hard on children and teenagers. It's a moment where you want to interact with everyone, and being at home on Zoom or whatever. We did a big work so all our kids could attend school by Zoom. That meant getting computers, getting also supplying the internet connection for the teachers and for the children. But also as we take all the children with their stories and their families, we realized 260 families from our foundation were not eating properly because they were locked down, no work. And so we did a campaign that was very successful, and many generous people donated. And we provided food for 5 months for the whole family of the children, and also the psychological care. We had the team of always ready to help in all the terms of, there's a lot of violence at small homes with people in lockdown the children have suffered a lot. Women's abuse has risen, by huge, because it's people, in lockdown in small homes is very, very difficult. So yes, we did take care of, if we don't have the kids here, we need to figure out how. And so it was a beautiful thing also as a community to be really, school is a community, and supporting our teachers, supporting our families, supporting our children, and working as a community was wonderful. The teachers participated. We also took 15 Olla Común, we say this common cookeries in the slums, and we worked with the people, and maybe we gave 48,000 meals to people, thanks to the generosity of our community and friends. So school being the center of the community, school being the center of, care of the children and families, I think is a very important thing we can change, and makes beautiful connection with the school also for the children. And many of our children want to be teachers because of our wonderful teachers, inspired by the incredible team we have. And maybe my biggest gratitude is for the teachers, because it's extremely difficult to be a teacher and extremely unvalued. And it's like the most beautiful profession that people can choose. But, you know, gratitude for them today is as much as important as gratitude for our healthcare communities.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's quite moving.
Yeah.
In fact, we were thinking that it was quite moving to hear the three of you today, and 2 years after our journey. And I see that the time is passing by.
Yeah,
And,
right.
and unfortunately, we won't have the time to share the other questions of the audience, but I have a tiny question for each of you and for the audience is, with what emotion or idea do you go back home after this hour spent together? And maybe you can say it out loud, the three of you, and the rest of the people can
Share it on Twitch or email.
Yeah, in the chat. Who wants to start?
Okay, I'll jump in. It's so difficult running a little unusual school. It's very, very challenging. So something like this gives me so much food for my soul to keep me going. And so I'm very grateful for you, Adrien and Bérénice, and also SRIVIDYA and Marianne, just the feeling of we're doing good work. I love how, Marianne, you ended with this powerful, beautiful picture of a teacher and the value they have in society and how school is the center of the community. And it feeds me. I'm feeling very touched and moved, and I realize we're doing meaningful work, each of us in our different schools. So thank you.
Yeah, maybe SRIVIDYA, you want to continue?
I feel happy that I've been a teacher and that I've been able to touch the lives of so many of my children, and through them, you know, their families and, you know, the community. When I see the way in which children are now giving back, starting their own ventures of not-for-profit, doing things on emotional well-being for children in less fortunate schools around us. So I feel somewhere, you know, being a teacher has been a very, very fulfilling life. And I go to bed, you know, very satisfied.
Perfect. Thank you.
Maybe my my last word would be gratitude. I think it's wonderful to connect with other people like-minded. I'm very happy to have met you all, and I hope we don't lose this connection. And maybe to the audience, to the people who were left with questions or you know, comments or things like that, please feel free to write to us. Maybe you can put our emails or something. We can create this big world community of people who don't lose hope. We need to keep going, even if it keep, you know, nurturing our Mother Earth, nurturing our future generations, caring about our spirit and our bodies and about our minds, and gratitude to be alive, gratitude to be healthy, and gratitude to be able to keep dreaming and making dreams come true.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I feel moved and it's very fulfilling to, well, I don't know if it's the end of the journey or maybe not the end, but it's a new step, and I feel very happy for us to be gathered today, and it makes a lot of sense.
And I am a bit optimistic because like we are all together from three places, four places, very far away from themselves, and we can share thinkings and ideas to change the way we teach. And this is like a power that we have through this Zoom or also through our little community, and that I think it would be great that if it is just the start of a new community or new connections.
Mm-hmm. Let's say it's a start, and to anyone who wants to watch the movie, we'll put the link in the chat. Yeah. And well, we thank you very much.
Yeah, and we will maybe put, we will see how to share the contact of the three guests that we had today. And yeah, we thank you everyone for being here.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your words. There were some inspiration, hope, curious and inspired, and a lot of love. So thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody, and hope to see you soon.
And yeah,
bye-bye.
Do not hesitate to share the movie. Goodbye. Goodbye, SRIVIDYA. Goodbye, Marc.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Thanks
Bye.
so much for the session.
Thank you. All right. So we